Lynn, can I talk to you for a sec? I want to discuss something about your college. Huh? I'm playing a game right now. Can't you see? Oh. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. Could you not just barge into my room? It's kinda creepy. I don't want to talk to you about anything. That day, my husband was on a business trip, and it was just me and my daughter. It was a Saturday, so my daughter was in her room. She has never been close to me and has always been pretty bossy. But I've gotten used to this behavior and it didn't bother me much. Since it was our day off and it wasn't too hot, I decided to go out and weed the garden. Then, suddenly, something sharp flew towards my face. It hit my cheek and immediately started bleeding. I was shocked and in pain for a moment, but quickly realized what had happened. A flower pot had fallen from the balcony next to my daughter's room on the second floor. Her room has a balcony with various kinds of flowers on it. However, they are placed inside the wall, so it's impossible for them to just fall off on their own. Wondering what was going on, I looked up and... Damn! It was just a moment, but I saw my daughter glaring at me. I was truly shocked that a flower pot had fallen from the balcony next to her room. It couldn't have been anyone but my daughter who dropped it. I didn't want to believe it, but I went upstairs to confront her. What were you thinking? Pieces of the broken flower pot hit my face, and I'm all bloody. What if it had hit my head? In the worst case, it could have hit my head, and I would have been rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. I don't know if it was out of spite or just a way to blow off steam, but not knowing the difference between right and wrong is not okay. I'm not going to accept any excuses that it was just a joke. You're being annoying. I would have been happy if it had hit you directly on the head. It was a failure. I gotta reflect on that, she said, staring at me without a hint of apology. At that moment, I completely lost my patience. My name is Maria, and I currently make a living through real estate investments. During college, I had the opportunity to study abroad for about a year. To stand out during job hunting, I didn't just work part-time at cafes or restaurants, but at a company that sells softwares. I got the job through a connection with a professor who was the CEO of the company, which helped me improve my communication skills, and I was able to secure a job offer from a multinational company. I closed the deal. Really? Great job. The client was French. I used the sales techniques I learned in college, and it went well. That's incredible. You're by far the top performer among the new grads. You were even the topic of our last meeting. The top brass have their eyes on you, so keep up the good work. That's great to hear. I'll keep doing my best, thanks. While I wouldn't say the work was particularly fun, I understood my responsibilities and what I was supposed to do at the company. One characteristic of multinational corporations is that results are everything. Especially at the company I worked for, where delivering results was considered just. I experimented and managed to outperform my peers, which led to a smooth series of promotions. Before I knew it, I was already 30. I hadn't been involved in any romantic relationships since I had a boyfriend during my college years. It was about time I started thinking seriously about marriage, so I began actively seeking a partner. However, because I had worked so hard, I was making around $160,000 a year by the time I was 30. This financial security allowed me to choose a partner based on personality rather than economic factors. So, how's the dating going? Well, not too well. Maybe I'm being too picky, but there just aren't any good men out there. Everyone's bragging about how much they make or who they know. I'm not looking for that in a spouse. That's a common problem for independent women. You've been trying hard on dating apps, and I wasn't going to say anything, but actually, I know someone who's looking for a second wife. He has kids from his previous marriage, but he's really a serious and very kind person, so I think you'd like him. When I told a friend about my struggles with dating, she mentioned she'd like to introduce me to a certain man. He's divorced with children, and strangely, I didn't really mind that. However, there was one thing I needed to clarify. I just want to ask one thing. Do you know why he got divorced? The reason for the divorce? He's decent, but I think it's important to know the reason if I'm considering him for remarriage. His ex-wife cheated and ran off. She even left the kids behind. It seems they got divorced when the kids were still in preschool. One day, when he returned from a business trip, he got a call from the preschool saying no one had come to pick up the kids. When he got home, all her things were gone, and all that was left was the divorce papers. I was appalled by the ex-wife's actions, but the fact that she cheated and ran away indicated she had issues. While this doesn't prove there were no issues on his side, I thought he was worth meeting. He might be a really kind person. With that hope, I decided to let my friend introduce me to him. Thank you for making time to meet today. Thank you as well. I've heard you're busy, but I'm glad we could meet. His first impression was of a calm and kind person. His occasional smiles were charming, and he appeared well-groomed. His manners at dinner and his way of speaking perfectly matched the ideals I sought in a man. I thought I could really make it work with him as a spouse. I wanted to raise his child as if she were my own. I could think so. It seemed he felt the same, and after that, we went out to eat several times. Soon after we started dating, he introduced me to his daughter, and the three of us began to go out more frequently. From then on, we seriously considered marriage, and after a year of dating, we got married. Our life together as three began. His daughter was sensitive about various things. That's why I thought it would be good to slowly bridge the gap while ensuring her privacy. Looks like Dad's gonna be late from work today. Wanna go out for dinner, just the two of us? I don't want to go out with you. I guess so. It's still awkward just the two of us. How about we order in? I don't plan to go out with you even when Dad's here. Could you stop acting like a mom all of a sudden? I don't recognize you as my mom anyway. I was a bit surprised when she said that to me. Maybe it was my fault for suddenly acting like a mom. We've only been married for a month, and our relationship hasn't deepened yet. But I didn't think she disliked me this much. Even before we got married, we went out as a threesome several times. At those times, I chose places with her in mind first, like amusement parks and parfait tours. She seemed to enjoy herself, and I thought these happy days would continue after the marriage, so this was a shock. Okay, I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize, but don't be too familiar with me. It irritates me when you act like a mom. All right. Given her sensitive age, I decided to make sure I didn't add any unnecessary stress. Before I knew it, a year, then 2 years had passed. Can I talk to you about something? What's up? It's about school applications. My husband approached me with a slightly apologetic tone. She was attending a public elementary school, but she wanted to apply to a private junior high school. I wondered if something had changed regarding that. She's applying to a private school, right? Or is she changing the first choice? It's not about changing schools, but I'm worried we won't be able to afford the tuition even if she gets in. What? Recently, an employee went independent and took a lot of staff with them. Without any warning, several engineers quit, and we ended up in a big dispute with our clients. There were refunds to handle, and we lost a lot of credibility in the industry. So now we're short on money. Even if she gets accepted, we can't afford the tuition. My husband was serious as he shared this with me. He owns an IT company, and although it's small, we've been able to live more comfortably than the average worker. When I married him, I quit my job, and the following year, I made a significant income from continued real estate investments, so our combined income was pretty substantial. I don't have biological children, but I think of his daughter as my own, so I have no objections to paying her tuition. Of course, I'll do anything I can. I'll pay for the tuition, so don't worry. That's great. Thank you really. I promise I'll pay you back when we're a bit more flush. I do feel a sense of responsibility as a mother, and you don't need to repay me. Don't worry about that. Just focus on the company. Okay. Thanks. When I said that, my husband seemed relieved and the tension left his shoulders. He must have been trying to figure this out on his own before consulting me. With the company issues, he must have been having some anxious days. I could tell he was being considerate and hadn't said anything until he absolutely had to. You should rely on me more if you're in trouble, okay? Don't bear it all alone. We're family, and we'll help each other out with any troubles. Yeah. Thank you. I'm really glad to have you, Maria. I will definitely repay this favor. He thanked me several times after that. I believe that spouses should support each other in tough times, and this situation reaffirmed our bond. Then, I covered all the examination expenses. Our daughter passed her exams, and my husband and I were thrilled as if it were our own achievement. After completing junior high school, she naturally progressed to high school. Before we knew it, she was already a senior. I think I'm gonna close the company. Really? Is it that tough? Yeah, some weird rumors have spread in the industry since then. I've tried desperately to turn things around, but I just don't have the energy anymore after these 6 years. It's okay. You've tried hard enough, and you should lean on me more. Plus, you have the skills, so you could succeed as a freelancer. That's true. But there's our daughter's college to think about. I've relied too much on you for junior high school and high school. We're spouses, after all. We're supposed to help each other out in tough times. I have never felt resentful towards my husband for the financial support I've provided for our daughter's schooling. It's simply part of being a family. However, I think he's concerned that my daughter and I are still not close. She only responds curtly when I speak to her. Considering it's her teenage years, I've told my husband to let her be. I didn't want to stress him unnecessarily, so I kept quiet about the tuition payments and the troubles his company was facing. That's probably why my husband feels he can't say no to me, but for me, it's not that much of a burden. Lynn, can I talk to you for a sec? I want to discuss something about your college. Huh? I'm playing a game right now. Can't you see? Oh. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. Could you not just barge into my room? It's kinda creepy. I don't want to talk to you about anything. She said that and kicked me out of her room. Lately, she's been irritable, perhaps something happened at school. I heard from my husband that she was studying for exams, so it might be the stress from that. It could be something else like a heartbreak, but I didn't want to pry into her private life too much and tried my best not to agitate her. Then, 1 month later, one day my husband was on a business trip. It was just me and my daughter. It was a Saturday, and my daughter was in her room. Since it wasn't too hot, I went out to weed the garden. Then, suddenly, something sharp hit my face. It struck my cheek and immediately started bleeding. I was shocked and in pain, but I quickly realized what had happened. A flower pot had fallen from the balcony adjacent to my daughter's room on the 2nd floor. Her room has a balcony with various kinds of flowers on it. However, they are placed inside the wall, so it's impossible for them to just fall off on their own. Looking up in confusion, I caught my daughter glaring down at me. "Damn!" she hissed in a fleeting moment. I was truly shocked, but it was clear that a flower pot had fallen from the balcony adjacent to my daughter Lynn's room. There was no other explanation but that Lynn had dropped it. Despite my disbelief, I went upstairs to confront her. "What were you thinking? Pieces of the broken flower pot hit my face, and I'm covered in blood. What if it had hit my head?" I exclaimed. In the worst case, it could have been a direct hit to my head, possibly requiring an ambulance. I couldn't tell if it was out of resentment or just a way to relieve stress, but not knowing the difference between right and wrong is unacceptable. I'm not going to let her get away with saying it was just a joke. You're being annoying. I would have been happier if it had hit your head directly. Just a failure. I need to reflect on that. She retorted coldly, without a hint of apology, while glaring at me. At that moment, my patience completely snapped. Can't you distinguish right from wrong? What were you trying to achieve by doing such a thing? I just felt frustrated and wanted to blow off some steam. And I've always thought it would be better if you just disappeared. You're just a gold digger who married Dad for his money, as far as I'm concerned. Neither Dad nor I need you, she bluntly stated. I was shocked to hear that she still thought of me that way after all these years. Of course, I don't expect her to treat me like her real mother. My husband and Lynn were abandoned by his ex-wife after she cheated on him. It's understandable for her to distrust someone she calls mother. However, that doesn't excuse her actions. Regardless of the reason, not knowing what you shouldn't do is just wrong. There's no excuse for doing something like this. There are other ways to handle things. You have a mouth. Why can't you just talk to me face to face? Stop lecturing me. You're not in a position to preach to me. I've told you many times not to act like my mom. She probably had no intention of reflecting on her actions, realizing that appealing to someone so defiant was a waste of time. I left her room. I went back to the living room, treated the cut on my cheek, and headed straight to the hospital. I told the doctor I broke a dish while doing the dishes and got a prescription for some ointment. That evening, my daughter had gone out while I was at the hospital, so it was just my husband and me at home. What happened to your cheek? Actually, this morning. I told my husband everything that had happened today. He seemed incredulous at first, but the security camera we had installed in the garden had captured the incident. I'm really sorry that my daughter did this. After seeing the footage from the security camera, my husband apologized to me. I was a bit surprised that he was apologizing so profusely. It wasn't his fault, it was solely our daughter's. You don't need to apologize. It was my daughter who did it. I'm truly sorry for the injury she caused you. I don't know how to apologize enough. It's okay. And I didn't tell you everything just to hear an apology. Actually, I have a plan. Would you listen to it? I said, and my husband looked up at me. I then shared my thoughts on how to handle the situation as a resolution. I was prepared for him to not accept it, but to my relief, he agreed readily. And we immediately took action. 2 days later. What are you doing so early? What? I'm getting ready for school. What are you talking about? School? Sorry, but you don't have a school to go to anymore. I've already taken care of the withdrawal procedures. What? Who do you think pays for you to go to school? You show no gratitude towards others and lack basic common sense. With such an empty head, you can't possibly study. It's a waste of tuition, and there's no need for you to go. Usually gentle, my husband said this sternly while glaring. My daughter seemed to think he wasn't serious at first and was a bit perplexed. Naturally, anyone would be confused if, while preparing for school, they were told by their parents that they had already been withdrawn. Just wait a minute. I don't understand what you're saying. Your brain really is empty, isn't it? Maybe you don't even understand what I mean? That's not it. What do you mean you submitted a withdrawal form? Why would you do something like that on your own? You're not going to tell me you forgot what you did, are you? You drop a flower pot aimed at someone's head and then expect that person to keep paying your tuition? What? At that moment, she looked at my face. Perhaps finally understanding everything. That it was not her father, but I who had been paying her tuition. And that her father knew everything that had happened that Saturday morning. Wait a minute. Dad, are you misunderstanding something? Dropping a flower pot aimed at someone's head. I didn't do that. It was an accident. An accident? The spot wasn't getting any sunlight, so I moved it to give it some light, and I lost my balance and dropped it. I would never aim a flower pot at someone's head. Then why is there a recording of it? Right before I went to your room, I had turned on the recording app on my phone. It was clear you had dropped the flower pot aimed at me, so I thought I needed to keep evidence. I said this and played the recording in front of them. Of course, I had already let my husband hear this recording. Even without playing it, the security camera had already confirmed her actions were deliberate. It had captured her checking my location from above and dropping the flower pot as if she was targeting me. The recording only served to solidify that evidence further. Do you think someone who can harm another person has the right to continue studying in a college? Going to college would be a waste. From now on, as someone who only completed high school, you will face the harsh realities of life. Wait a minute. Dad, are you serious about this? It's a joke, right? After making it all the way to work hard at my college. It can't all be for nothing, right? Who do you think has been paying your tuition since junior high school? My company had been failing since you were in the first year of junior high school, and Maria has been paying continuously until now. And yet, what have you done? There's no need for you to go to school anymore. My husband said it plainly, and our daughter must have realized this was reality. She collapsed to her knees, beginning to cry out in a way I had never heard before. It was not fake crying, she was genuinely shedding tears. It was a moment she felt her life was over, tasting true despair. However, no matter how much despair she felt, we would not forgive her. Just quitting school isn't the end of it, my husband said, then headed towards our daughter's room. She collapsed in the living room, not moving. After about 5 minutes, my husband came downstairs, holding a large tote bag. This is everything you had Maria buy for you, cosmetics, accessories, all sorts of things. But you don't need any of this anymore. Wait, those are all my precious things, stop it! Nothing is more precious than your life. You did not cherish your life, so you have no right to claim anything else. With that, my husband dumped the contents of the tote bag into the trash. The moment she saw this, my daughter began crying even louder and started pounding the floor with her fists. Why would you do something like this? How can this be fun for you? That's what I should be asking you. What's fun about dropping a flower pot on someone's head? It was just one mistake. Can't you forgive me? There are lines you just don't cross. One of them is committing a crime. You did something unthinkable as a human being. You're old enough, so the excuse you didn't understand doesn't hold. You know, if I report this to the police, your life would truly be over, right? No matter how much my daughter tried to justify herself, she could not erase what she had done. For the next several minutes, she continued to cry loudly, venting her emotions on everything around her. I am your daughter. When Mom left, you were the only family I had. How could you do something so terrible? If I was really your beloved daughter, you'd always be on my side, no matter what. Let me tell you something. Who do you think allowed you to live this affluent life? Who do you think paid for you to attend a private school? When you went on a graduation trip with your friends to a resort, who do you think covered those costs? I didn't know any of that. So you thought that would excuse what you did? What you did is unforgivable as a human being. Don't make me say it again. But go ahead, make all the excuses you want, and if you want to lash out, do it. Your true nature is someone who hurts others without remorse. Even if you apologized or showed remorse now, my feelings wouldn't change. My husband said this, and she stopped talking. Whether she had accepted reality or not, she struggled to hold back tears but couldn't stop them from overflowing. It took about another 10 minutes for her to calm down. During that time, I watched her, but felt no pity whatsoever. Of course, I was the victim, but more than that, her past attitudes and actions made me feel this way. You can get a job or do whatever you want, but once you turn 20, you'll have to move out of this house. You'll need to cover your own expenses for food and living. We won't take care of you anymore. That's the worst. Say whatever you want, my feelings won't change. I no longer think of you as my daughter, nor do I count you as family. My family consists only of my beloved wife. After he said this, she ran back to her room. She then locked herself in, and we hardly saw her after that. I wonder if she's all right. I haven't seen her around lately. No need to worry. She sneaks out at night. I don't know what she's up to, and frankly, I'm not going to help her. She brought this on herself. Well, maybe you're right. If she can earn money and manage on her own, perhaps we don't need to interfere. A year passed without any conversation between us and our daughter. About 3 months ago, she started leaving the house in the morning and returning late at night, apparently having found some kind of job. Just recently, I was at the real estate agent today, and the house was empty. It seems she moved out. There was just this letter left. A letter? Yes. It seems she's working in the hospitality industry now. She found a job that includes accommodations, so she said goodbye. Well, that's good. We can completely cut ties now. I don't consider her my daughter anymore, and I'm really glad there's no one left to hurt you. My husband never wavered in his stance of supporting me until the very end. We then moved into one of my properties, a high-rise condo downtown. And now we live comfortably, just the two of us. The scar on my cheek still remains, and each time I look in the mirror, I remember the fear of that day. No matter how much time passes, I can't bring myself to forgive her, and she still doesn't regret what she did. I heard later that she quit the live-in job quickly and now works in the nightlife industry. Perhaps that's inevitable. Without any education and unable to discern right from wrong, I doubt she could hold down a decent job. I think she will regret what she did for the rest of her life, but I believe it has been a good lesson for her. For someone who always dismissed my advice, this was the first and last education I gave her. I may never meet her again, but I hope she doesn't repeat the same mistakes in her future life. By the way, my husband has been working hard every day as a freelancer since then. I have passive income, so I support him while taking care of the house, and we are enjoying our life together. Our life as a couple is truly happy, and I have no complaints. I plan to cherish my husband, who I'll stay with until death. He has always been on my side no matter what. In return, I intend to continue supporting him. Family isn't just about blood relations. While parent and child have blood ties, a married couple does not. Beyond that boundary, loving and trusting each other makes a life partner and a lifelong relationship. I look forward to spending a happy life with such a person.